Hi, everyone. Thank you, Malobi. My name is Shalom, Bako. I am a commercial farmer, exporter, trader of agricultural commodities from West Africa primarily to other parts of the world. And so that's who I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shalom. Short and sweet. So next up we have Chieta. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you for inviting me. So my name is Chieta and I'm the Vice President with the Federation of Young Farmers Zimbabwe. We're a special interest group that consolidates the issues that young people face, and we promote mentoring amongst our membership base and capacity building.
Brilliant. And last but not least, Mr. Tim. Welcome to the stage.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jason Tim. I'm the founder of Akuna Group. Akuna Group is a tech, trade, and agriculture company. We are involved in the whole part of the supply chain, from farming all the way to the end consumer. And we also deal in the consultation and build technology at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. And so as you can see, we have some great minds, some great people on stage. And so let's just get straight into it. The topic of today is we're talking about sustainability in the agri value chain and food security. And so this word sustainability, for some people, it can be quite, a bit confusing in terms of what does it mean, how is it implemented. So I just wanted to get a couple of feelers out there from people on stage in terms of what does sustainability mean to you, and how do you implement that in your organization. So I guess we'll have Yvonne first. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, what is sustainability and how are you sort of practicing sustainability?
Right. Thank you very much for that question. So some of you may have heard of UNIDO's core mandate, which is promoting inclusive and sustainable industrial development, we said, for structural transformation and achievement of the SDGs in developing countries. Now, to achieve that, UNIDO works around three thematic areas. The first one being advancing economic competitiveness, creating shared prosperity, and safeguarding the environment. Now, these thematic areas are not like parallel pillars just standing there, but they are very integrated, and our approaches more or less complement each other and bring on the sustainability of industrial sectors. So within the context of agricultural value chains for economic growth and job creation, the sustainability is achieved in the area of in terms of advancing economic competitiveness, supporting businesses, i.e. supporting industries and SMEs to increase their capacities to be able to generate higher value addition and to be able to compete in global markets. In terms of creating the shared prosperity, it's the interventions that we do in supporting the value chain actors, including the youth, including women, including other socially marginalized or underrepresented people, like people coming in areas that have been in conflict or that have other vulnerable kinds of groups. So to build these value chain actors such that they can operate within the value chain and be integrated into agribusiness sectors to create jobs for them, to enable them also to create wealth. And then in terms of the last thematic area I mentioned, which is safeguarding the environment, then looking at how technologies and the solutions that we provide for value chain addition are such that it reduces the impact on the environment in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So you may call this the green options of value chain. And as also linking the other two aspects together, we work around building the resilience of people where they are already impacted by climate change, and also bearing in mind that even our industrial systems are becoming vulnerable because the natural environment or the natural resources that they depend on, the water, the raw materials, materials are also becoming vulnerable. So our interventions, the technological solutions that we bring, should then not only add value, but build resilience and also mitigate or reduce the impact of greenhouse gases. So in a nutshell, this is sustainability with regards to those intervention in industrial development and particularly agro-industrial development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. I think you kind of clarified that definition there. I see we have Phoebe that just joined us on stage. So, Phoebe, I'll have you just very briefly introduce yourself before we pop back into this discussion. So, welcome to the stage, Phoebe.
Well, thank you very much. I was kind of struggling with the technology. It's actually the first time that I have to use this technology. But in any case, we'll learn as we go along. Okay, my name is Ted Muchochoko. Greetings from South Africa, the Free State province, where it's quite chilly at the moment. And my role here, as a matter of fact, I think how it came through is that I'm an agriculturalist. I started as an agriculturalist and I went into other sectors as well, in technology and also in geographic information systems. But I then went back into agriculture and I established a company called Tab Foods. Now, Tab Foods has been in operation now for the past 7 to 8 years. Our goal as a company that I run is to, facilitate markets for the previously disadvantaged farmers, which we call here in South Africa emerging farmers, and create a sustainable market for them. So from a trading point of view, what we do, we seek these farmers and then we have, the contracts with them that ensure that they have open markets. We secure the bigger markets from the bigger companies and facilitate that link upstream. And we also want to actually make them part and parcel of the processing. We do also agro-processing, that they, know that through that processing that they are part of, the value chain. So in essence, this is what we do. We mainly focus on emerging farmers so that we can be able to create jobs and employment within the particular sector. Because at the moment they receive a lot of funding that comes from the government, in terms of setting up their production. But unfortunately, after they make their production, they do not know what to do with their produce. Now, we are there to say that we can find a way that we can take our produce and first be able to give you an opportunity to be sustainable as farmers and grow within the sector. So in essence, this is what we do, this is who I am, and I'm trying to be part and parcel of this very highly esteemed panel of people in this group and AOT as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tebe. Apologies for pronouncing your name wrong. And, you make a very interesting point in terms of, the farmers being able to produce their products, but sometimes not having access to markets. And that's a discussion that I'd love to get onto later on because we need to be a bit more demand side focused. But just following on the conversation around sustainability, I'd just like to get a couple of, responses from other people on the stage. Perhaps, Yates, I'd love to hear from you as well. In terms of your business and your operation, how are you, implementing sustainable practices, if you are, in terms of your agri-value chain or in terms of food security? Are you practicing sustainability and how are you doing that? I believe you're muted still.
Sorry, so when you look at the agricultural sector, and especially for us, the horticultural sector, is the ability to sort of maintain a certain rate of growth. So you find a lot of businesses, a lot of farms are family businesses, and you sometimes get the stop, start. So with us, with the Federation of Young Farmers, we are mentoring and we're also linking some of our members into established farmers. So as a country, we don't have this stop, start
Thank you very much for your contribution, Chieta. And you mentioned the chemical use, which is another important point that we're going to be going into later on. But I'd like to hear from Shalom. Welcome to the stage. I've followed your progress over the past few months, and I've been great to see what you guys have been doing with your company. But I'd like to hear from your perspective in terms of the farmers you're sourcing. How are you also practicing sustainability? I think Chieta mentioned the pesticide use and the chemicals, etc. You'll be more familiar with the United States market, the European market, what they want. What kind of things are you doing to stay sustainable? First of all, from an African perspective, and then secondly, from the buyer side, what they're looking for, the trends in the market.
All right, thanks, Malobi. So when it comes to sustainability, I'll just break it down to kind of simple words. It just means developing something ongoing, right? Something that can endure the test of time. And that's really all it is. So when you talk about sustainability, the question is really, how do we develop markets that consistently, year after year, have demand for what we are farming? When you look from a farmer perspective, I'm born and raised in northern Nigeria, where most of us are farmer. From my great grandfather to my father, everybody is a farmer. So growing up in that kind of society, in that environment, you see that certain crops are farmed every year and others not as often. So for us, for me, the way we stay sustainable is, like someone said earlier, you have to have, from an agricultural perspective, you have to have some kind of market that you can go to over and over again. Does the farmer want to go find that market? I don't know. From my experience, not a ton of them do. They prefer just dealing with the local market. Now, the local market might have certain demands this year than it might have next year. For us, from our experience, it's been certain markets that we found outside of the continent that we know there's always a demand. So in order to remain sustainable or to endure, we've just developed a method of finding those markets, those niche markets, where whether there's a local demand or not, there is year-on-year demand. And then from that perspective, then we can start putting together more farmers and making sure that there's work every year. To me, that's sustainability. When you can find niche markets that already have a demand for our products without having to create a new market, then you have an ongoing market. But you have to also be able to serve that market in order to remain sustainable. So to me, that's what sustainability means. It just means creating something that year after year, there's going to be a demand for. And with agriculture alone, there's a demand for most of our stuff. The real question is why we're not taking part in the sustainable part of it, where they keep on buying. So those are some of the areas that I believe, we need to work on in general as a whole, in terms of agriculture, in terms of developing something sustainable. We have to be able to find those markets. And if we're not able to do that, the local farmer is not, going to go out. They just want to farm. That's the reality of that. So we have to be realistic and approach this from that perspective to say, what's the end goal, right? And how do we accomplish it in a real way, besides just thinking, the sustainability is just going to happen out of nowhere. But you have to create a market. You have to find a niche market for those products that are ongoing, and make sure that you have the farm, the capacity to feed that market consistently.
Perfect. That's really, really interesting, and it's something that I completely agree with. And it's interesting that Febe actually mentioned a similar thing in regards to access to markets. And we can talk about these complicated new technologies, and we can talk about all these new forms of farmers. So that is really, really important. Access to markets is actually part of being sustainable, and that's a really interesting insight. And so I'll move on to Jake, because I understand he also deals with international trade. And Shalom said something really interesting about being able to continuously supply the markets. Being able to continuously provide the buyers both within Africa, the local market, but also the foreign market. So, Jake, my question to you, and I know that you've dealt with foreign buyers a lot, and this is why I'm saying this to you. What is stopping? What are the challenges? What are the obstacles to having people buying products from Africa? Because in order for us to grow as a continent, we need to be a net exporter as opposed to a net importer. So, what is really stopping us from being the global breadbasket? What are some of the challenges along the way?
Okay, thank you, brother. I'm going to give you a simple example. Me, myself, I've never been a farmer. I've never known what goes this all, how the supply chain works. I entered the agribusiness 2 years ago, exactly in 2018, and I realized after a year, I knew most of the people on the ground in West Africa in terms of how to deliver to clients. Because I'm a salesman, let's say so my niche. One of the biggest problems is not per se finding markets. If you live in Europe and you do some kind of business, some kind of way you know how to find clients, it's more the delivery. Remember, we discussed a couple of times, every client has a checklist, right? Those checklists goes by simple, global gap, organic, SMETA, fair trade. America has different rules, Europe has different rules, China has different rules. The problem is we have the product, but in Europe, people buy with their eyes. In Africa, we don't understand that. For example, if you go to an Afro shop somewhere in France or Belgium, you see how the product looks in their store looks very different in the, let's say, European stores. I'll give you a good example. We sell to one of the biggest suppliers in Europe, and technically, if I only supply that client, I wouldn't have to deal with anybody else. The farmer I work with is very, very good. He's one of the top exporters in Ghana. But in order for him to deliver good product, he has to be on his location 24/7. What is missing is checks and balances. What you can deliver outside and what you can't. The supply for the local market is very different. The supply for the export market is also very different. When it comes to African farmers, a lot of them want to sell the product. They're very hard. They don't know price fluctuation. They don't know process. They don't know packaging. They don't know everything that's missing in the supply chain. So the biggest problem that we're having is for them understanding the whole supply chain after it leaves their farms. Even when you ask them for documents from the beginning, like you said, what pesticides they use, their organic certification, is your plant organic or not? Do you use mechanics? Do you do it by hand? Before all you can deal with the European client, you are busy, let's say, 6 months just getting those questions back, right? So in terms of like what we're missing is everything. So that's why I believe what the fellow was saying before, you have to pick specific farmers that you work with, because education is a big part of even starting, right? We talked about getting the youth involved in the agriculture. My brother, you have to go to the farmers first, because the farmers have a lot of children. And if we don't start with them, there's no point of passing that, because all the information, everything starts with them.
Thank you very much for your contributions. And you raised an interesting point about the certification and being able to fulfill those standards on the international market. But with that being said, I think Nana's back on stage. I'd like to bring it back to the local market. And Nana, please feel free to introduce yourself. But after introducing yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what are some of the challenges within the local market. Because from what I understand, you deal with the local market in Ghana. What are some of the challenges for the farmers in terms of providing food on a sustainable level? Welcome to the stage, Nana.
also the farmers can't even pay the certification fee. They can't even pay for the standardization fee. So they have come to that level. They have said, okay, we are going to do this for you. Visit your farms, certify your products, not for free, but when you finish harvesting, then you pay this fee. Another agency is also saying, okay, we can give you a 50% discount. So we pay 50% and you pay 50%. So at the end of the day, these farmers are able to get their products certified, able to get their products standardized, and able to export their products. Another thing we should also look at is the fact that we all want to export products. I keep saying that the local market is huge. You should not export the best of your produce and leave the rubbish for your local market. We should focus on both the local and the international market as well. So that is my
Thank you very much. And something that you touched on there was actually the public sector working with the farmers. So that kind of leads me on to the public-private sector engagement. I'd love to present this to you, Yvonne. How is the OYA program sort of progressing in terms of public-private sector engagement? And what measures are being taken for inclusive collaborations with OYA?
okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that question. In fact, public-private engagement in youth entrepreneurship, it's one of the strong activities we have in Eden, particularly in our department. The OYA project is fairly new, but this is really engraved in how it's been progressing stages. So I'll just try to sort of use examples that we have from previous projects. So as I was saying, we have a very strong component on partnership with the business sector. And one of our experiences has also been with multinationals. For example, I can give actually have been in the industry like Scania and Bako, where in activity delivery, the knowledge that the private sector is bringing in technology and tools to, for instance, train technicians in an institution that is offering training for technicians, drivers, and to be able to support machinery. Another example I can also give in terms of the agribusiness sector has been in the coffee industry, and which is probably very much related to examples that many people are giving in terms of sustainability and working with the smaller farmers. So in coffee, as you know, it's a high value commodity that is largely not processed on our continent, but mostly it's going out. But then, of course, in some countries, this is changing, and we are looking at doing some kind of processing or value addition in the country. But the thing is, for many buyers, when they come
working with the smaller farmers. So coffee, as you know, it's a high value commodity that is largely not processed on our continent, but mostly it's going out. But then, of course, there's some
supporting the country's institutional framework to improve the quality standards they have generally and particularly for individual value chains, and particularly for the coffee sector, for instance. We have this kind of partnership with Cafe in Italian chain on coffee that is working with Ethiopia. We're doing them in Ethiopia to improve the coffee value chain, adding value within the country, and then of course it also sends the purpose of that company, because it is not only for them to be able like the opportunities for a lot of jobs that can be created. I love the value chain in terms of the supply of raw materials from the farm to the market being the processor, the market being the one who is exporting, and all those other areas of private sector that come on down here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contributions. And so this leads me on to another question, which is it's a bit of a controversial one, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And it's all about commercial farming versus smallholder farming. As many of you may know, a lot of African countries, and in terms of majority of their agriculture, comes from small farmers, whether working in cooperatives, whether being subsistence farmers, etc. As opposed to commercial farming, which is, in terms of a place like the United States, most of the agriculture actually comes from commercial farming. So I'd love to pose this question to some of you in terms of, you can give your opinion in terms of which one do you think is actually more sustainable. If you don't think either is sustainable, I'll accept that answer. But what do you think is more sustainable for Africa moving forward? Should we continue with this sort of aggregation method of having smallholder farmers aggregating it from the working co-ops? Do you think we can scale on that level? Or do you think that in Africa we need to start embracing more commercial farms, larger scale farms, owned by one person, a couple of people, a family, a corporation, etc.? So I'd love to first of all put this forward to Ebe. What's your thoughts on the matter?
Okay, sorry about that. I'll say that is quite a debatable matter, but I will also state my opinion as far as I see it. Where we are, and I'm talking within the context of, South Africa, and I think to a great extent also in Africa, we are a rapidly growing population, meaning that there is a great opportunity insofar as food security is concerned, that a lot of, black farmers can get into the value chain, not only end up with the production level and actually go up, but listen, we do not necessarily have to have everybody value adding. We still need primary producers as well, because they are the feeders to the upstream of the markets. Now, my sense is that, if there is a balance that can be created between the two, that'll be wonderful. But essentially, where we are at the moment, I think, with most of the policies that we have in this country, in South Africa, is that we should see to it that we do not only focus on subsistence, but we want to see that we can be able to grow them so that they can commercialize. Because it is through commercialization that we create employment, and we also have a much bigger impact on the GDP of the country. And we know that, agriculture still remains a major component of the economy of the country, and the economy of the world, as a matter of fact. So we see that we would like to continue, with the strategies that ensure that we commercialize instead of just creating subsistence. Because we want growth, not just normal, ordinary, living. Yes, I know that there could be, those that will be left behind that would actually end, up subsisting, but I'm for growth, I'm for commercializing, essentially. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bebe. Great contribution, and I'm happy that you made a decision there. It's not an easy question to answer, to be honest. Sometimes there's no right answer, so thanks for your contribution. Shalom, I know you're currently doing a lot of work in Nigeria, so I'd also like to hear your thoughts on the matter in terms of, what do you think is more scalable? What do you think is more sustainable in terms of commercial versus, smallholder farmers working together? So please, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, first and foremost, smallholder farmers commercial farmers, if we're talking about sustainability, if we're talking about creating bigger markets, then you have to be talking about commercial farming. You can't be talking about smallholder farming. Now, is one better than the other? No. It's more about how you move most of the farmers in Nigeria, for example. I believe even on the continent, most are smallholder farmers, right? So there has to be a process of educating them, showing them the benefits of commercial farming. Now, a lot of people are smallholder farmers because people are just used to working their lands with their family, and you take it to your local market. Like someone said earlier, the local market is huge, in my opinion, far larger than the international market, right? Most people are looking at the international market primarily for the pay, for the dollars. Commercial farming is what's going to be sustainable. Now, not everybody can be a commercial farmer. However, I do believe that we can take most of our smallholder farmers and put them in certain clusters to start teaching the concept and the ideas and practicing scale, right? Commercial scale of farming. So that's a method that we're currently trying to use. There's been success and there's been failure. And some of that has to do with the mentality of a commercial farmer versus a smallholder farmer. The mentality is different. Most smallholder farmers are not looking for an export market because most of them just want their money right there. If you want to look at other markets, export markets, you have to be willing to look at 3 to 6 months. Most people don't have that type of time, right? So downstream, they just want what they can get right there to feed they don't care about what you're going to do in processing and packaging and export. That's not their arena. And I think we need to get away from the idea and the concept that everybody has to be a commercial farmer. Everybody has to know how to process. No, I often give this analogy of a soccer team, right? You have 11 players, but there's one goal. Everybody has a position. I think some of our challenges in Africa, especially, is that we're all trying to be Cristiano Ronaldo. We're all trying to be Messi, rather than working together and saying, okay, this is what the farmer has. This is what the middleman, the supplier gets. This is what the processor is getting. This is where the export market is, and finding that niche and working that supply chain rather than, hey, I want to do all of it from A to Z. So if we were able to work better together and create that system and have an understanding that everybody makes a piece of the pie, but the farmer is not going to make the same piece of the pie perhaps as the distributor who may be in a different country, but that's the reality of business. So on the commercial versus smallholder farmer concept, I don't believe that one's better than the other. I believe that there is a process of time, especially for us on the continent, where we're going to have to start showing the benefits of commercial farming. If we need commercial farmers, it's just all about stepping up and doing it. And I'll tie that in with the PPP, private-public partnership concept. I have yet to experience a successful one, right? So if we do want to do, I think that there's a lot that can be done with private-public, especially with commercial. However, in most cases, partnering with the government, public, hinders you more than it moves you forward. So I'll give a perfect example of one that I think is a better method. When you look at Dangote, he puts in the work, and then when it's all done, then you can say, okay, public, you can come in and partner with me on this much percent, right? Rather than saying, hey, because most of the time the government doesn't understand or care. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. I don't know why it kicked me off.
Just reconnecting. I'd like to very briefly have Gia contribute a couple words, and then we'll have Professor Kilikume of the Lagos Business School introduce himself Chienta, feel free to chime in there, and then we'll have Professor introduce himself.
Thank you very much. So I have very strong sentiments on that, where I feel like why can't the two exist side by side? And historically, in the Zimbabwean context, we've had that. When we look at horticulture, which is fresh produce, whether it's for the local, regional, or international market, for a small-scale farmer, some of your inputs are going to be very significant. Like if you're doing a high-value crop, like blueberries or fresh produce, you need to be thinking about cold supply chain. And a model which I think, when you think about sustainability, you should be thinking, how can we incorporate e-commerce growth for everyone? So we have, historically, we've had a lot of our horticulture being grown by large-scale commercial farmers. One way to, you can sort of, something that we've had and it's worked in the past are inclusive growth models where your small-scale farmer can grow what they want in consistent, but they can also grow in excess where they don't have to worry about transportation and refrigeration because they feed into an established bigger organization, which you also want the larger commercial enterprise, because whether it's for, again, local, regional, international, your large farm guarantees your supply. And especially if it's a new crop, most small-scale farmers don't want the risk, but your larger commercial entity does have access to the certification. Your gap certification, you're looking at about $1,000 USD, which is a lot for someone who only has an acre of land. You're looking at the marketing, you're looking at the supply chain, you're looking at the technical expertise, the economists, and everything else. So maybe we should be looking on its head and thinking, how can we benefit and create win-win-win scenarios? And that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I think we'll come to you, Jake, in a second. I'll just have the professor introduce himself, and after introducing himself, I'd actually like to pose a question to him because I've spoken with him offline a couple times, and he's in terms of understanding the Nigerian agribusiness sector, he's the best person to speak with. So from what's going on in Nigeria, we see that a lot of the bigger companies are actually also aggregating as opposed to getting involved in the production, and I think maybe Bako is an exception. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, Professor, after introducing yourself, on why is it that we don't have as much commercial farming in Nigeria, and what are some of the challenges and barriers to that happening? So welcome to the stage, Professor. You're muted, by the way. Okay. Am I muted? Can you hear me good now? Yeah, you're good. Good morning, Reggie. Thanks for having me here. My name is Kelly Kume. I actually manage the agribusiness program at Lagos Business School. So your question, if you look at the structure of the Nigerian agricultural space, you find a scenario where we have 80% smallholder farmers and 20% medium to large-scale farmers. And these large-scale farmers are actually in the aggregation space. You don't find them at the upstream space where they actually produce real agricultural produce. So the entire industry is so skilled because there's a missing link very much. And very briefly, as before I pass on to Jake, I'd like to double down on that and maybe for you to give an example. You spoke to me about the press code model in Nigeria. I'd love to. People into communities, they partner with these communities, they don't take their land. So what they do is that they train them, they mentor them, they give them quality seeds, and they offtake their produce. At the end, when you plant palm, you actually start harvesting at the end of the 5th year. So they encourage these farmers, they mentor them, they guide them, they give them quality seed. At the end of the day, they offtake. So there's a kind of partnership arrangement between the press schools and the communities. So you don't have that friction existing between the communities and the oil palm companies in Nigeria. So you have same thing with the cocoa oil palm, same with the press oil palm. So these are long gestation cycle products. Unlike those that are in the Babangonas, the Babangona model is quite different. So they go into communities where they partner with the cooperative, they guide, mentor, they train them, they bring them into the banking system, where they teach them how to bank, they improve their livelihood, as well as get policy from them, having trained them. Thank you. Great. And it's interesting to see that a lot of the models that are working, and not necessarily from the public sector, a lot of it is actually happening from the private sector, just building more sustainable models themselves. But with that being said, I think, Jake, you had a contribution, if I'm not mistaken, so feel free to chime in there. I'll be able to still in the discussion. Yeah, Shalom, I will tell you, I agree with you 100%. If you compare Europe, Africa, China, and America, right? This like borders almost 1 year. It's like
I'll feel free to chime in there.
Are we still in the same discussion?
Yeah, carry on.
Okay. Shalom, I will tell you, I agree with you 100%. If you compare Europe, Africa,
Yes, I terms of, how we see ourselves as agribusiness entrepreneurs. Do we need to change the image of what the average African farmer looks like on the global stage? So I guess maybe we'll have someone that hasn't chimed in yet. Nana, I haven't heard from you in a second. So what do you think of that? Do you think that we need to change the African image in terms of what an African farmer looks like?
No, I don't think we need to change it. I think we can just build on it. But before that, let me share my view on information. So, I think, based on the research, this research was asked that 80% of all food on the globe are produced by small. So we cannot really say one is better, but we cannot. But I agree to the start that we should have this commercial thing in the mind. So before this, I thought that I always thought that commercial farming had to do with size, had to do with the hectares of the farm and whatnot. But I didn't know it had to do with profit. It had to do with the business side, the technology side. So I think smallholder farmers can remain small and still be commercial. So now to the second question, I think we can maintain the African agriculture or agribusiness.
What the fuck?
I have 1 acre land. I've been farming on this for 30 or 40 years.
Oh dear, I think we lost her there. Some network issues. But
Yeah.
I'd love to hear any other opinions if you agree or disagree with Nana's point, because the reason why I'm asking this is because when we're thinking about African agriculture, when I think of African agriculture, a lot of the time images of NGOs and charities and interventions always come to mind. And in order for us to be sustainable, do we need to take more of a business approach to agriculture? So maybe Professor Bako may chime in there.
5-hectare farm, and then he had 5 sons. And then when he passes on, he gives 2 hectares to each of them. And then my father had another 5 sons or 3 sons. And so when he, so generation-wise, their size is reducing. That is one aspect. Then there is, as Nana said, the over-farming on it for a long time. And so your yield is going down. Then we have the complex of the post-harvest losses. How do they get to the market? So we have a stage where there's a lot of what we call a farmers are 1 hectare, half a hectare, even some less. Or they may be fragmented, one in one location, one in another location. How best do we change what they have? So tailoring our interventions around the situation we have to move them up. And definitely one aspect is linking the farmers, reducing the post-harvest losses. So having interventions at farm level that can ensure that it has to harvest in the capacity of the what should be harvested from one plot of land is 10 bags of corn. All the 10 bags of corn can actually go to a collection center, a storage center, so that it can actually get the value from that 10 hectares of corn. I remember vividly some years ago when I was living in a part of Nigeria and I was going to take data in another part. And we were driving and the driver stopped because of a big truck with cassava and he knew the driver. Now what had happened is that the guy had busted his tires and typically the truck is owned by a truck owner in Lagos. So he had sent the mate to go to Lagos and come back with money or so to fix it. And they were also still there was another problem. I said, okay, he had actually busted the gasket or so, and then as they were standing there, he lost the tires. So imagine a truck full of cassava. He has to offload that truck before he can change the tires. And cassava is a crop such that when you harvest it, you immediately it starts to deteriorate. So from harvesting and gathering and collecting from the field before it gets to the market, by the time it gets to the market, it's going to probably be now 3-4 days than what should normally be on the chain. He's losing so much in terms of quality. So interventions that should come so that when they harvest their cassava right very close to the farm, they can add some value so that by the time it goes to the farm, close to the market, you are not losing in terms of quality. And I can't remember whether it was Nana or someone else was talking about the value of what we have in the country versus what goes out. If you're going to export the cassava, you would wax it. Why can't we apply the same for what goes into our local market? So if we apply these standards throughout and in terms of ensuring quality, no matter how small it is, we get to the stage whereby that 1 half-hectare farmer is going to grow because he's making enough money, he's going to grow and then he's going to be able to acquire maybe 2 hectares, and to the extent that even if he doesn't need to get 5 more hectares, but on the 1 hectare or the 2 hectare, he has enough technology that he can irrigate with pressing something on his phone, and he's irrigating the 1 hectare land, and he can spend the rest of his time doing something else. Whether it is he has been trained in how to maintain solar panels or something, so he can spend the rest of his time doing something else. He doesn't have to be on that farm, 1 hectare farm, the whole day flipping beans and using good varieties and being able to improve on that level. So at the end of the day, the quality of his life is not, his quality of life, whether it is 1 hectare, 2 hectare, 10 hectare, his quality of life has improved, and that is the level where we need to get to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe Pepe and then Jake have some contributions. So Pepe and Jake, and then I don't want to harbor on this point too long. So if you haven't chimed in, we'll go to the next question. So you have the stage, Pepe. You're muted, by the way.
especially increase our young people coming into the field. It should be such a manner that it also attracts them to come in. And that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's definitely my comments. Jake, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you talked about West and East Africa. West Africa is big, so the whole group of farmers have like friends from also in West Africa. Ghana, beautiful places, right? In Kenya, what does it say? And we're looking outside to ask you a question. What do you mean by engineering to ourselves or to the outside world? So,
I think for me, the imagery to ourselves and the one to the outside world is the same in terms of what's the farmer looks like. Even, myself, when I told my father that I wanted to get into agriculture, he was like, oh, let's just say that the remarks weren't very, positive. So, there's this, thing that, why don't you get something else like a lawyer or doctor? So there's this sort of negative connotation and the kind of link to kind of poverty and subsistence with farming. Whereas, in other countries, you can have very wealthy farmers that are doing things on a large scale. So that's a common image here.
It's the same with the cannabis, right? We all have a consumption of a lot of things in Africa. Well, I think the imagery in agriculture has to go back to a lot of different things in Africa. Our priorities are on a lot of different things. If you go, I think especially for Ghana, right? Ghana itself, like flex a lot of things than agriculture. When it comes to the image of agriculture, like you said, attracting the youth to agriculture is very different than attracting the youth, right? People attracting youth to agriculture means, look, we go to the farms. What you see in pictures is what you get, right? Unless you go to a European man's farm, that bird getting everything set up. So the image of agriculture in terms of how we're doing, I think it's correct. That's what they're doing. They're working hard. It's tricky. It's hard. That's the process of agriculture in Africa. We're talking about agriculture is a big subject, right? So you want to work in some in sales, like you said, with some good marketing, work in delivery. It's a lot difficult. So I think Africa in general has to find sessions to do like the youth inside because we used to be able to attract them to different agriculture, but it's the thing. You have agri-tech, you have different aspects of it. You have to diversify. You have to try to attract the youth. Because most young people in Africa go down on the car and get their foot dirty. They go on the internet and make easy money. That's what I mean. Doesn't matter how you promote it. So especially if you kind of give your voice and tell you taking money from somebody is easier than actually go to work on the farm or do sales. It's much easier. So now approach your market different things. So what you're saying, oh, what's the image? What is like this time?
Thank you very much for your contribution, Jake. And you make some very good points. There's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done. And the thing is, the perception of agriculture as being just a farmer agribusiness as being just a farmer is false. So, I guess we can keep on this subject of, getting younger people actually excited, because we can create all these programs for youth to get into agriculture and agribusiness. But if it's not something that's drawing them in, it's still not going to be successful. They're going to be looking at other things. They're going to be looking at fintech. They're going to be in from Larry Schaefer. And so Larry Schaefer says the worst thing you could do to Africa is to adopt large-scale agricultural production model of the West. It has created serious vulnerabilities in the food security throughout the value chain by centralization. The solution is diversifying and decentralization of the production. There can be some centralization on a small scale of the processing and packaging, but we do need to embrace more decentralization. So, Shalom and Nana, I believe you wanted to contribute. So, actually, sorry, Shalom, do you mind if Nana just goes first because she has some technical issues? So,
Yeah.
before she drops out, Nana, just feel free to chime in on that comment.
Okay, so I'm going back to the African image. So like I said, we should build on that image. You know, we should also ask ourselves what kind of image do we want for ourselves? What kind of image we will be able to see? I believe that the African image is, the African family image is really now a whole Atlas image. It's about what we want to create. So for me, I think African family is about cooperating because I know that this model was even taken from Africa and worldwide. So you see the cooperative thing in Europe and in America. So beautiful. Unfortunately, we're not able to develop ours. So I think it has to come. I mean, we have to build on what we left. I mean, where we left it. So we should not be part of the problem. And we can also ask ourselves, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. What are we doing? What are we doing to be part of the solution? I don't think getting more youth into the industry is what is needed right now. Because trust me, there are a lot of youth who want to be part. I run an agribusiness program for young women, only young women. And within 1 month, from June to July, we received over 600 applications. And this should tell you that the youth is really interested in the sector. But how can we support them? How can they be in? I mean, how can they last? Okay, the image we ourselves are painting fresh and not even good enough. We keep on comparing ourselves.
Fuck.
Technical issues. But Shalom, would you like to also make a contribution in terms of what's being said with the guest wants to the things that centralization too much commercial production is not good. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as of right now, we don't have enough. So the conversation of having too much, we're not there yet. We don't have enough. So I honestly don't know what decentralization in terms of that means. I don't know what how to answer that or really what that means. So what I'll answer is this. One, in terms of our image, right? In terms of our farming image or our image of a farmer, if you want to get more young people, it's about understanding marketing. That's it. It's all about how you're marketing this stuff. That's all everybody is doing. So we're talking about, and the truth is, we're in a day and a time where most people want to just work online and work with their thumbs. Not a lot of people want to do the hard labor. Most people want to live in Lagos or Abuja rather than going to a rural farm somewhere and learning how to farm or what's going on there. So it's about, one, it is about money, because you're not seeing young farmers who are, when you look at a doctor, a lawyer, people are driving Benzes, Bentleys, BMWs. That is what's attracting people. It's the money. So it's about marketing. How do you market yourself? How do we market ourselves in a way that presents a better image as a whole, not just for the farmer? And then in terms of attracting young people, you have to make it look good. You have to market it the right way. You have to make it a lifestyle. That's you've seen some of how we market. That's what we do. It has to be a lifestyle marketing where it's making the farm look like a cool place to be, and also showing other parts of the value chain to say this is agribusiness as a whole. It's not just the farm. It's also this other aspect, this other aspect. Just like any business, there's different departments and different roles someone can come in and play, right? So for young people, I believe that for me as a young person, if you're going to attract me to anything, it has to make sense to me. It has to look good for me. So it's about making it a lifestyle and also marketing. We don't spend a lot of time doing marketing and focusing on branding and looking at those aspects. Those are things that other, continents and several other countries do very well. And that's why, on top, we don't care as much, right? For us, it's just, we give it to you here, Karigo. You understand? It's not really looking at it as a brand, an image. So we need to do more in terms of developing our marketing skills, right? And also showing like this is a lifestyle. What I do is agriculture, and that can afford me to travel here, travel there, live here, live there. Those type of things are what young people want to see. They don't want to see somebody with a cutlass or a hoe or a tractor on the farm. Right now, in this day and time, it's too much work for them, it seems. Most people want to be in Accra, want to be in Abuja, and live life. That's just the truth. So if we want to make it more attractive, it's also by diversifying in terms of the agriculture. Agribusiness is not just somebody on a farm. Agribusiness can be somebody going to Europe, going to Senegal, going to Sudan, going to South Africa to find niche markets. So that's what I believe with that. I don't know about the decentralization. I believe that there is a point at which the commercial and the small, again, it's two different mindsets. It's two different mindsets. You're speaking to two different audiences. So you have to speak to them in a language that they understand. In order to get that smallholder farmer to start thinking commercial, you have to start showing them and be there. They're in rural areas, like the professor said. You have to go there and show them that, look, this is the way it can work. Go through a process with it. You might fail at some things. We've struggled, but it takes time. Most of us are not willing to put in that time. We're in the time and age where if it doesn't work for 6 months, for most people, they'd rather just put their money in Bitcoin and hope that it goes up. It's gambling. And not a lot of people want to, really put in that time to say, this is a sector. Most people are looking for an easier sector, something that's more sexy, something that is known to make a lot of money, right? But the reality of those industries too is that you're looking at a very small percentage of people that actually become successful at this. So to me, it's about marketing and knowing how to market yourself, knowing how to market a brand, building a brand, developing something that people want to be attracted to. We can't just say because it's good or it's doing good for people should automatically want to be attracted to it. No, that's not the reality of how people's minds work. People work on something they see that's appealing, right? If you're driving a Bentley to a farm, I bet you people will look differently, right? Or a Benz or whatever. It's going to be a different conversation. And people are saying, oh, I didn't know that a farmer could look like this, or that this is what agriculture, agribusiness is about. So that to me are some of the things.
Thank you very much, Shalom. And I guess with that being said, I want to see you driving to the rural areas of the north of Nigeria in your Beamer. Okay, I'm going to hold you to that.
I don't have a Beamer.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I wanted to ask Prof this final question before we get some closing remarks from everyone on stage. The word sustainability, the word sustainable, for me, it gives a sort of sense of, sustaining, keeping things the same. It doesn't, some would argue, give the feeling of, giving more, putting back, which leads me on to the question of regeneration of, agriculture, regenerative agriculture, putting back into the soil, using more organic fertilizers, and, because at the end of the day, we can start growing things on a larger scale, expanding our production. but we can learn from other people in the West and other Asian countries and know that, we need to take care of the land, take care of the soil. So, Prof, I wanted to put this to you in terms of, what can we do to go beyond sustainability, and what can we do to make sure that our land doesn't just get depleted of its minerals in terms of, the pesticides and chemicals that are being put in the soil? How can we go beyond just being sustainable, but making sure that future generations are in a better situation than we're in? I believe you might be muted. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sustainability, actually, if you tie sustainability to agriculture, we're actually talking about doing it right. So I'll give you an example. The typical smallholder cassava farmer in Nigeria actually produces 80% of what they do is the staple food gari. So they produce cassava to get out gari. Now, this typical smallholder farmer destroys two components of his produce. He destroys the stem, he destroys the ethanol, he destroys the starch in order to take out gari. And he pours all of this on the soil, thereby depleting the soil. So sustainability means smart farming. Sustainability means how do we educate the smallholder farmer such that they no longer waste their resources. It's not just about going organic. I'll probably use the holistic word, doing it right, and leaving the land not depleted, such that the generation unborn can still use the land. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So, with that being said, you're basically saying that sustainability does it, going that step further, making sure that everything is done right. So, thank you very much for, everyone that's made some contributions to this discussion. Everyone has made some valuable contributions. I've learned a lot. I hope the people that were listening have also learned from this distinguished panel. And so, with that being said, I'd like to have some closing remarks from everyone in terms of, any final words that you wanted to bring up to the table. And then also, what are you going to be doing over the next, for those of you as well that are actively involved in agribusiness, what are you going to be doing over the next 12 months or so to make sure that you're being more sustainable in whatever venture you're participating in? If it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. So,
it's more than just the farmer, the food, or the fisher folk casting his net. But there is also opportunities for jobs to be created in the allied industries. So, for example, if we look and we talked a lot about the post-harvest losses. So if we look at just even the energy sector, we have the need to have more flexibility in terms of energy sources. So a mix of grid and off-grid. Now, what value does that add in terms of agriculture? It adds the opportunity to have more access to renewable energy resources, for instance, for post-harvest. And that only doesn't just allow the farmers to be able to go and store or more safely collect milk and transport milk, but you're bringing in opportunities for the farmers' kids who are living in these areas to have other jobs in addition to supporting of the farm. For instance, you could have technicians that can, I think I mentioned earlier, who can manage or maintain solar panels. You can have technicians that can maintain bypass and digesters. You can have opportunity for jobs in the logistics, moving products from one place to the other. You can have opportunities for jobs in packaging materials, and in that regard, going to more sustainable packaging materials. So the entire agricultural value chain has a lot of room to create jobs. And it is an area where, as Africa, I think that is where our strengths are. It will help a lot in terms of changing the narrative of what our rural areas look like. It can make them more economically stronger. It can help a lot in preventing or it and they're doing it right, it's fine. But then we should be able to sustainably produce. Our agriculture produce sustainably, add value to them, and then sustainably create jobs that would, at the end of the day, benefit us as a continent, benefit us as in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Chieta, I hope you have a good connection. I'd love to hear your closing remarks. Can you hear me, Chieta? If you can, please unmute. Very good.
Yes, thank you. So, for us as a federation, we're working very closely with private sector, with BMIs such as Horticultural Development Council, with the different associations of our livelihood, livestock, and all different major agricultural units to one, facilitate the transfer of knowledge to increase the production of our farmers and also foster inclusive growth. I think if we can have the commercial farmers that employ people, but we also want to be people being business owners and they own rights and contribute to the country security as well as economic success and GDP. So that's what we want to do.
Thank you very much, Chieta. I see that your thing is frozen. I don't know if you have any other remarks, but I think you're good at speaking. Thank you for your contribution. So, Jake, would love to hear some final thoughts from you and any with regards to sustainability you're working on.
I'm going to be directly
business before jumping into it. But with that being said, we'll move on to Tebe for your final remarks. You're muted, by the way.
Okay, I'm always muted. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this session, to be honest with you, because there's so much I've learned from all the different people that are in the panel. But there are two things that I think that maybe we must look into. We must ensure the sustainability of agriculture in itself, and ensure that we also talk about sustainability in terms of business. We must find what I would call a strategic alignment between sustainability of agriculture in terms of soil conservation, etc., and also business sustainability. And if we are able to, find that balance, you understand, and then apply it to our farmers, you understand, whereby we can have, collaborative, contributions coming from retail all the way down to production in terms of all the people that are in the value chain. You understand? This is how we believe that we can be able to usher, from people that are coming from subsistence and grow them into commercial farming. You understand? Now, I believe that if we're able to do that, my aim as a American right now is to become an activist, you understand, in all these things, and saying that if I go back to my community and my farmers, I'm saying that, guys, how are you farming? Is it the right way that you're farming? You understand? What is business like? What are your books? What are your plans thinking? You understand? What is your production plan? How does it fit in terms of how the market is looking? You understand? And if we're able to actually pose those kind of questions and get all the right support that is actually included and involved in this process, I believe that we can have equal responsible farming and also business and entrepreneurs that are actually coming out of this sector. Therefore, we can actually have a greater impact in the GDPs and the economies of our countries and Africa at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tebe, for combining the two. And finally, last but not least, Shalom, love to hear your final remarks on this discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Malobi. This has been a great session, and so thank you for having me. My final words are quite simple. I think we talk too much as Africans. We talk too much and we don't take action. So for me, final remarks is we know the problems, we talk about it all day, and then we wait for a foreign hero. So for me, it's let's stop talking and let's start walking. People should start implementing what they're talking about rather than sitting back and waiting for Europeans and everybody else. That's part of the problem. Another thing we can do in terms of sustainability, if you want to develop real sustainability, we have to put more time into researching what it is that our agricultural commodities can produce. The professor gave an example with cassava. You're talking about ethanol, you're talking about gari, you're talking about several things that you can do with it. But we don't have the knowledge of that. We wait for other people to give us that knowledge and wait for them to go do it. And yet we sit back and complain that we're getting our resources taken and we're not taking part in the value chain. We need to study, we need to pick, we need to implement rather than just talking. So that would be my urge to anybody listening or any young person. Just start doing it, start getting into it. It takes time to figure out, just like everything else. And it's not going to be quick. There is no get rich quick scheme. We're too popular for that. That is what, makes a lot of money. When you look at the betting and gambling, and people want quick money without investing real time. If you want anything sustainable in any industry, you have to put in the time, you have to put in the work. So it's about stop talking, start implementing, and there's no hero that's coming to save us. So if we as Africans don't start getting innovative, then we can sit and wait for another 100 years and we'll be having this discussion then. So thank you.
Thank you very much for those final words. I think they couldn't have ended it on a better note. Let's talk more action. We need to actually start implementing what we talk about. We can't just have forums of discussion and nothing comes of it. So let's hold the private sector accountable. We don't always have to be pointing the finger at public institutions. The money's out there, the brains are out there. We need to just collaborate, work with each each other and actually get the work done. So, thank you very much for those contributions, Shalom. I think yourself and Jake would get along quite well because you share a lot of the same thoughts and opinions. But with that being said, I think we'll end it there. It's been a great discussion. Please, all the analysts that are on this discussion, once you go to the backstage, please leave the studio and then go join via the hop-in link. It's been an absolute pleasure having all of you on stage, and we're looking forward to the next discussions and the rest of the day. So thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you guys backstage.
All right. So that was me speaking at an organization for agriculture, innovation, and technology in Africa, and trying to, garner up the youth to be more involved in agriculture. So that's it. It is 3:40 a.m. It was, West Africa time. So now that's it.